What's going on, guys? Mike Lesby here from Full Sturker Training. I'm going to go over a low plank, otherwise known as an ab plank, depending on who you talk to. This exercise is an incredibly good exercise, a very basic exercise for developing total body strength, particularly in your core. Okay. Now, real quick, I want to go over what your core is, what I'm referring to when I say core, or what most people are referring to. It's the musculature from about lower lat to about the top of the hips here. Okay, so that's hip flexors, internal, external obliques, rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, glutes, erectors, spinal erectors, everything in between front to back. Okay, all of that musculature is what we're referring to when we say core. I know it's a word thrown around a lot nowadays. Want to make sure you're understanding of what we're referring to when we talk about that. Like I said, very, very basic but very effective exercise for developing strength. Okay, it's a body weight exercise, so very hard to overdo it. Something you can do pretty much every day, especially at the beginning, when you're first getting into an exercise program, that will really augment and help everything else you're doing. Like for example, it's really, really good for teaching you how to brace on something like a squat. So it's that dynamic, core bracing when you're doing something else, squatting, deadlifting, overhead pressing, something like that. Even doing push-ups is very, very important to keep that tightness in the core. So what you're really looking to achieve is a neutral spine by engaging your glutes and abs to tuck your hips underneath the body. Okay? What that means is we don't want any extension. So see how my lower back is hyperextended, my chest is out, there's flexion at the hips. Okay? We don't want any of that, and we also don't want excessive flexion and rounding. Okay? It's just everything's in a nice straight line. Abs are tight, glutes are tight, spine is aligned. Okay? That's what you want to be maintaining when you're walking around in everyday life as well, sitting at a computer or whatever. That's what you're looking to maintain, is that neutral spine. That's why the plank is such an effective exercise, is because it's reinforcing that movement pattern and helping you to gain the strength to do that without thinking about it when you're just walking around, going to the grocery store, whatever it is. Okay? You want to think about breathing normally. Do not hold your breath on this. It's an isometric contraction. There's people, I've had clients hold it for up to 10 minutes. They're not doing that if they're holding their breath for 10 minutes. So make sure you're breathing normally, but really think about maintaining that tightness in the glutes and abs in particular. You want your feet about shoulder width if you're a beginner. The more narrow you go, the more challenging it will become. Not to any extreme degree, but it will be a little more challenging. So that's kind of a progression you can make. Start with your feet wide, for example. Once that becomes a little bit easier, try to bring the feet in. And there's many, many, many variations that you can do on a plank. We're not going to go into literally hundreds or thousands that you could do today. We're just going to go over the basic version. We'll save the other variations for another video. You want to think about keeping your body in a straight line. So it goes kind of back to what I was talking about with that neutral spine. Okay, you want your hips even with your chest. You want to make sure you're not letting that head flex down. Okay, nice neutral head position. Hips are not raised in the air. Hips are not sagging. Everything's a perfectly straight line. Okay, like I said, very much so tied to that neutral spine position. You also want to maintain a strong upper back position. For a lot of beginners in particular, the upper back strength or shoulder strength, the strength in the shoulder girdle in general, is kind of the limiting factor, because what will happen is instead of keeping the shoulder blades spread apart, maintain that strong position, you're going to start to creep down, shoulders are going to start elevating up towards the ears, putting a lot more strain on that area than we'd like. Okay? So really think about maintaining that strong upper back position. Once again, that definitely goes along with keeping the body in a nice straight line. What you're working on on a plank is your core, but in particular, your deep core musculature, like your transverse abdominis, for example. We care about that because that is the muscle most responsible for stabilizing your spine and keeping intra-abdominal pressure when you are doing just about anything. Okay? You are also working your superficial rectus abdominis. We're a little less concerned with that. That's your six-pack muscle right there. You are working that as well, but the thing we are most concerned with is the transverse abdominis. Okay? That is a muscle that is very good for bracing. Okay? So when you're trying to prevent movement, we really like core exercises where you're trying to prevent movement as opposed to produce movement, like a sit-up or something like that. Generally speaking, resisting movement, that bracing is going to be more effective for keeping your lower back in particular nice and healthy, but also it's going to translate over to athletics more, to other lifts, et cetera, et cetera. Movement-producing core movements, like I said, not what we want. Bracing or resisting core movements is what we're really going to focus on. Okay? So now we're going to switch over and go into a demonstration of the plank. Scoot back just a little bit. I'll make sure you're in the shot. So right, get into a plank. Let me see right there. So scoot back a little bit that way. Right there. Good. Perfect. So get in a plank. Cool. Scoot back just a touch, like an inch or two. There you go, right there, Perfect. All right, so here we got Jake demonstrating a plank position here. So first we're going to start with a good plank position. So he's thinking about engaging his glutes just a little bit more. So really tightening and tucking. So see how everything's in a nice straight line. From the top of his head to his heels, pretty much nice straight line there. Really engaging that musculature, both in the glutes as well as the core. Also see how his upper back is nice and strong here. You might not be able to see it from that angle, but you'll see in a second. So let those shoulder blades come together. So you see how his back collapsed there, and immediately his chest dropped. Okay, so spread them back apart. Okay, so this is the good position. Now let's disengage and let your back arch a little bit. Let your hips sag. So go down. Yeah. Okay, there you go. So now you see how his back is arched, his hips are sagging, abs are not tight, glutes are not tight, shoulders are going to take a lot more strain than they need. So now go back up. So that's what you want to avoid. Now get your hips up. So this is another thing that a lot of people are going to want to do is raise the hips up because it takes some of the tension off the core there. But you see how body position is all out of whack now. So we do not want this position. You want to lower your hips down so get back to a good position. Just tightening and tucking. That's what I like to think about. Tighten and tuck. So not flexed. Tighten the glutes, tighten the abs. Everything's nice and tucked. Make sure you're breathing normally. You want to go to relax there, Jake. You want to go for anywhere between 30 seconds, 60 seconds, up to maybe about 90. I would say, though, that if you're getting into the 90-second range, probably time to add in a little bit of challenge, either by adding weight to it or many other variations. You can go to single leg planks. So many variations we can't even go over in this video. But start with this one. Try to increase your time. Something you can do 5, 6, 7 times a week potentially. I would not go to failure every time if you're going to do that, but it's a good exercise that you can do very frequently and you'll notice a quick progress on it. You'll get stronger at it very quickly as long as you're doing it correctly and consistently. Okay, so that is the low plank or ab plank. Very good basic core exercise. Enjoy.